what is the status? Like, how do you rate, or like, how do you what is the state of international film festival in India? according to
Well,
you?
in the first place, I do not know if there is such rating as you say, but I'm pretty sure that some of the festivals like Venice or Cannes are much more uh, important than our festival in Delhi. What I find is a steady deterioration of its status because in 1985, when I was a member of the jury here, even then this festival had some charm, and there were lots of foreign delegates coming, and some of them very important people. But somehow, maybe because they have closed down the main competitive section and have restricted the competition in only a particular sphere, it has lost some of its charm. And certainly, when you go to a Venice festival or some such festival, you see that a lot more money is being spent behind the festival so that they can acquire very recent good films which the Indian festival cannot afford to do. That may be one of the reasons why this festival has gone down a bit. But and I'm sure that the government someday will wake up and find out means to make this festival once again very attractive and very inviting to people, particularly people from abroad.
What do you think in a nutshell, like what can be done to improve the quality of the festival?
Well,
What is
I'm
your
not an
suggestion?
expert in this matter, but I think the main thing that it should have more funds so that the main thing should be in acquiring good films. That needs money in international market. And even if when you are making this festival, if you want to make this place attractive, you have to invite dignitaries from foreign countries who really matters, who are very well known and very famous people. Like say when Antonioni came here, that was a great attraction for the whole festival. So people like that should be brought in, should be invited. That again involves money. So funding, I think, is the biggest problem.
The festival should not travel every year from one place to another.
Yeah, that I too agree, because a festival should have its mooring somewhere. And to be honest, Delhi is not the best place for a film festival in India. Delhi hasn't got a film producing center like in Bombay, Madras, or in Calcutta even, and doesn't have such uh, huge film goers, or rather film buffs who are interested in serious and meaningful cinema, which Calcutta has, I know for certain. In Calcutta, if there is a film festival going on, you would find people queuing up for tickets from the previous day and going through the night standing in the queue. So a place like that should be selected for the festival in the first place. But again, other places, at least some other places, would not be as equipped to handle a festival of this magnitude as Delhi would be, because this being the capital with all the infrastructure of the government involved. But I think that can be solved, that problem can be solved if the government is interested to hold it. But it should not go on traveling, because traveling creates no impression. Rolling stone gathers no moss.
Few years, we are not seeing very good Bangla films are coming out, except 2, 3. Or whereas if we look at your time when you was very active, we're seeing a mass scale, like it was the ideal Bangla film industry in the international, not only in India, in the international market. It was an ideal kind of, like if you used to look at what are the films coming from the Bangla stream, why it is not so in today?
Well, the condition of today's Bengali film is very bad, to be very outspoken. for various reasons, there aren't a number of good directors anymore. One or two young directors are trying to make better kind of films, but even there, the amount of care and you know they are taking about their films is not backed up by their vision. When I joined films, not only Satyajit Ray was making his films, there was Ritwik Ghatok, there was Mrinal Singh, and even the mainstream of Bengali cinema had directors, marvelous directors like Tapan Sinha, Ajoy Kaur, Ashit Sen, all of them. At that time, the industry was bubbling with energy, and all the directors had something to say through their films. They were not just making films because they had to make a film and earn their bread and butter, no. So this condition has changed. And top of that, filmmaking in a regional language has become even more difficult from the point of view of finance and everything. Because, you know, most Bengali films hardly find a equal opportunity to be released in the same category as the Hindi films are getting. Because the house owners, they take away about 80% of the sale proceeds, which means that the only 20% is plowed back to the industry. The Hindi films, the Bombay films can afford, because they have a huge Indian market, which a regional Bengali film hasn't got. So by getting only 20% plowed back to the industry is not enough for the producer to get enough incentive to go on for another venture or next venture. So that creates a problem too. And with this, since if you invest money and then find your film not being released for 1 year, 2 years, waiting for some chance, then not only you lose interest in producing another film, you also try to sort of compromise on quality and make it a slipshod production. And there is this tendency which grew over the last 2 decades of imitating those films which are getting released and all that. In other words, Bombay films. This imitation and this you know, kind of this uncertainty about its release has given the rise to this compromise attitude,
think also
compromising
like
attitude.
the taste of the cinegoers has also changed as far as Bangla film industry is concerned?
Yeah, there is one perennial problem in all over the world, is this competition with the video industry. If you are for entertainment, if you are sitting at home and just push a button and can find your entertainment, why do you go to the cinema hall at all? That has happened all over the world. But it is still there. The cinema industry is not dying even after that. In Calcutta, the whole problem is that the Bengali films have forsaken the line of you know, basing their films on Bengali literature. In the time when I joined films, most of the Bengali films were made out of some story or some novel written by an established writer. Well, Bengali films have forsaken that part. They are now copying from videotapes of video cassettes of Hindi or English or some such variety.
Even if we see some of the mainstream Bangla film of today, we see the directors are trying to balance somewhere between Hindi film industry and also trying to take, incorporate some essence of Bangla film. Maybe this mixture is not gelling.
Yeah, this can't, work, because a Bengali film is a Bengali film. A Tamil film is a Tamil film. It's rooted in your culture, in your psyche. You can't just go away from that. And taking cue from the great masters like Satyajit Ray, or Ritik or Mrinal, they never sort of ignored the Bengali mind, the Bengali psyche, and Bengali culture, and tried to do something which was hybrid.
Now, this kind of festival is giving homage to Ritik Ghoshal's Titashikti Nodin Nam. Can you comment something about the film?
That film?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great film. I'm in love with that film. I have seen that film twice.
Really?
Tita Shikti Nodin Nam is a magnificent film. I mean, it's one of the best films that I have seen in Bengali language, with its huge panorama of human beings or human condition, and also the visuals of the great rivers, and finally the vision of the director and his unshakable faith in the future of man. When the film ends, this young boy, although the river has died, there is no more river, but a young small boy, he's running through the fields and meadows with his flute or something like that, playing. That's a great ending.
Do you think it's still contemporary, this kind of film?
But
If we look for this kind of film of like today's director makes, do you think like it's equally very contemporary, this kind of subject?
these subjects, they are in a way, I should say, timeless. You know, they remain contemporary even today. It's a great film.
Thank you so much.